Hello everybody and welcome to your next session of your Business Administration course with Plato Training. Today we're going to be taking a look at understanding the needs and expectations of our customers. So your aims and objectives for today's session are to understand the relationship between needs, expectations and satisfaction. And then you're going to write your own scenario using some creative writing where a customer is not satisfied with the service that they receive. So let's take a look at expectations and satisfaction. So our expectations are set from various different methods. They're set from past experiences. So it could be that you had a really good experience previously with a company, and then you either visit there again or you phone them up again and the experience really isn't that great. It could be from a recommendation, so perhaps your friend or your neighbour has said, oh, go to this business for that need and they'll be able to help you out. So you're expecting them to be able to help you. And expectations can be set from any other sort of published or marketing material. So if you think about things like flyers that come through your door daily, if it's like me. So if the flyer is promoting a service, you are expecting the service to be as it's promoted. So if the expectations are not met, then there'll be no satisfaction, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. Now, your past experiences, you could have had an amazing past experience with a company. So let's say, for example, it was a company that you insured your house or contents with. That past experience, if it was very positive, would lead you to have an expectation of another positive experience if you were going to renew or recommend that to somebody else. Because the past experience means that your expectations of that company are very high. So recommendations are part of expectations as well. So the example that I've put on here is a friend has told you to try out a new cafe or restaurant because she said the food that she had was the best that she'd had for years. So your friend's recommendation means that your expectations are going to be set very high because perhaps you want the best food that you've had for years as well. With marketing material, your expectations are set by what is produced. So if the marketing material has, like this one, it's very glossy and beautiful and colourful, and you've got the lady there smiling with the other people in the background smiling, perhaps there's a good price on the marketing material. If it looks very, very professional, like this one does here, you know, like the colours all match up, you've got the reds and the oranges and the yellows, and they're all different shades, but they all somehow work together. You've got the blue on the hurry up sign, which matches the blue on her suit jacket, so it all looks very professional. So I think that would give me very high expectations. So expectations and satisfaction. So just remember that if you have expectations that have been set at a certain level, particularly at a higher level, then those expectations are going to need to be met in order to satisfy you as the customer or your future customers when you work in business admin. So we're going to look at some examples to help you to understand the relationship between expectations and satisfaction. So I'm sure along the way many of us have had an experience similar to this. I mean, this is a very, very sad looking burger on the right hand side. I'm not sure I've seen one quite that bad before. But the expectation on the left there, so there's no doubt that this picture has been doctored in some way, whether that be through technology, whether that be through placing the items on cocktail sticks inside, etc. It is just not the reality. So the expectation from the marketing material on the left and the reality on the right. Another one here, so imagine if your child or a child you may know open this panda lollipop ice cream to see that it looked more like Well, your guess is as good as mine. You could say that you might expect the bus to arrive at a specific time that's stated on that timetable. Does it? Perhaps not. However, that's another expectation. You have the expectation that your bus probably won't arrive on time, so instead you look at the live app to track it because your expectations aren't actually that high. So expectations don't always have to be high. It could be that someone's had a very negative experience with a company and they just think, well, I'm not going to recommend them to somebody because they were trash to me. They were not very nice to me at all. In which case, obviously, you've got to be able to prove them wrong to satisfy them. So I've put on here a chart, flow chart that will hopefully help you. So we've got starting at the bottom, identify what the customer needs are. So we looked at needs previously last week and what customer needs are. You're going to identify what the customer expects. So what is it that they want you to do? What is it that they want or need? What is it they want you to do? You're going to try and meet those needs and their expectations, and that way the customer should then be satisfied. So, looking at question 1, you have a scenario that you're going to be working through. So you're working in an office as a school administrator. The van der Woodsen family have just moved into the area and have read the school's outstanding Ofsted report, and they feel impressed by what the school's mission statement says. Mrs. van der Woodsen's new neighbour, Barry, has a son, Khalid, who attends the school. Barry said that all the staff are very friendly. Barry said that Khalid has a good relationship with his teacher, and he praised the school manager, Mrs. Dean, for her work in fundraising for the new IT equipment. Mrs. van der Woodsen wants to make sure the school can meet her son Benedict's needs as he uses a wheelchair and a walking frame. Mrs. van der Woodsen calls the school and speaks to a receptionist called Shagufta. Mrs. van der Woodsen asks about the resources and services that the school offers for children with a physical disability, and as her son uses a wheelchair. But Shagufta replies, "Oh, I'm not sure actually, sorry. I'll just see if I can find my colleague, Stacey. Please wait a few minutes while I find out." But Shagufta leaves the parent on hold for 5 minutes, comes back and says, "Are you still there? Sorry, I won't be long." Shagufta returned after another 5 minutes and stated to Mrs. van der Woodsen that she'll need to book an appointment with the school manager to discuss Benedict's needs individually. So do you think Mrs. van der Woodsen would be satisfied or not? I think no, probably not. If you disagree, please come up with your own reasonings and ensure you explain yourself. I would say no, because she was on hold for a very long time. She didn't find out the information that she rang for. The school is apparently outstanding, but the service that she received was not outstanding. So I would like you to refer back to this activity, which is question 1 in your work booklet. So please pause this video whilst you complete this question. So let's have a look at Mr. van der Woodsen in a little more detail. So what are Mrs. van der Woodsen's needs? What are Mrs. van der Woodsen's expectations? Where did those expectations come from? And what is the relationship between her expectations and satisfaction? So Mrs. van der Woodsen, her needs are to find out if the school is accessible for her son. Mrs. van der Woodsen's expectations, she expected a high level of service. There's an outstanding Ofsted report, a recommendation from a neighbour. There's a great mission statement. The relationship between her expectations and satisfaction. So if Mrs. van der Woodsen expected an amazing service, which I think she probably did, she didn't get this. In fact, she didn't even get a good level of service, so she's not going to be at all satisfied. Instead, the school should have found out what her needs were, They should have found out what she expected and then tried to be outstanding whilst giving her customer service on the telephone call. This would have then led to satisfaction. So please answer question 3. There are 3 parts to this question. So you've got part A, where you're going to look at Mrs. van der Woodson's needs. B, you're going to look at her expectations and where they came from. And C, you're going to state the relationship between the expectations and satisfaction of Mrs. van der Woodson. Please pause this video whilst you complete the question. For question 4, you're going to create your own scenario. So you've seen the scenario that I created on Mrs. van der Woodson. This time you're going to describe your own scenario, but instead of just writing down a scenario, instead you're going to write it in the first person. So you're going to look at who. So who are the characters? Parents, customers, children. Where is your scenario set? Are you in a reception area? Are you in a shop? Are you on the phone? What? So what does the customer expect? Why? Why doesn't customer service meet expectations? And how? So how could this be improved next time? So it's got to be a negative scenario. It's got to be where the needs of the customer are not met. If you're struggling to lay this out, I've put an example layout on the right hand side. You don't have to follow that format if you don't want to, that's your choice. At the bottom, you should show who you should report this situation to. So it should be a manager, supervisor, something like that. Once you're writing your scenario, please make sure that you're writing in full sentences and develop paragraphs. If you wish to create the scenario based on perhaps a previous situation that you had at work, or you as a customer, as long as it's written in the first person, so I, with the who, where, what, why and how in there, then that will be fine. So now please answer question 4. So describe a situation where customer service delivery would not meet a customer's expectations. And don't forget to pop at the bottom there who you would need to report it to. Please pause this video whilst you complete that question. So your learning activity log for today, I need you to write today's date. Your aim is customer service. The activities we've looked at, customer needs and expectations. Then tell me what you have learned. Tomorrow we're going on to making and receiving calls for your next session, where you need to write tomorrow's date. So that concludes today's session. So you should now have an understanding of the relationship between customer needs, expectation and satisfaction. And you should have written your own scenario where a customer is not satisfied with the service that they receive.